This took place a couple decades ago when I was in second grade, so the details are a little fuzzy. My apologies. Growing up, my brother and I really wanted a cat. I was about 7 years old. My parents finally decided that it would be okay to start looking for one. We checked out shelter ads for a while and finally found a listing for two little black kittens, sisters, who were available for adoption as a pair. My brother and I instantly fell in love with them, and it was decided that we would be bringing them home. Not one, but two little fluff balls. We were ecstatic, and the kittens took to us immediately and became well-loved and spoiled members of the family. My cat moved out with me when I got my own place, and she is still my loudest and most affectionate roommate at 20 years old. So, what's the problem? The problem was my aunt and uncle. My aunt and uncle had twin girls who were only a few months older than me, and our families were relatively close. They lived about an hour away, and we would get together to do things several times a year. I don't recall it being a weekly or even monthly meetup, but we were closer than most of my extended family. When my aunt and uncle found out we had adopted kittens, they went absolutely ballistic. See, one of my cousins had a cat allergy, and apparently, this meant that not a single person in her life could have a cat as a result. I remember them calling my parents and screaming at them over the phone about how inconsiderate we were for adopting cats, knowing that their daughter, who we only saw every so often, was allergic. We had pre-existing plans to spend Christmas together at their house, and they uninvited us from attending. They effectively gave us an us or the cats ultimatum. My parents did not take kindly to being told how to live their lives and ceased contact. The only time I have seen them since this incident was at a family funeral several years ago. I was pretty young when all this happened, so it took me by complete surprise. I didn't know my aunt or uncle to be unreasonable or entitled, but in retrospect, I think the signs were always there. I found out years later that my aunt once interrogated everyone in line with her at the grocery store because my cousin sneezed, and she just knew that someone around her must own a cat. That is absolutely not normal behavior. It kinda sucked losing my cousins, but I can say with complete certainty that my brother and I wouldn't trade our cats for the world, and definitely not for our entitled aunt and uncle. That's disgusting behavior from them. If I was the cousin with the allergy, I'd be so embarrassed. I bet they twisted the story when telling it to your cousins too. Stuff like, they don't want us coming over anymore, or some other manipulative BS. Growing up, I had a similar relationship with my two cousins. Me and my bro, her and her bro, were all similar ages. We'd have sleepovers every couple months and stuff. Well, one of them had a moderate cat allergy, and we had a lot of cats. He still came over, with an extra dose of allergy medicine, I think. We just went there more often, as to accommodate his allergy. Our house had less rules though, more fun, so they still came over sometimes. Like, you could still have a relationship with them, if your aunt and uncle weren't such entitled smooth brains. Allergies can change over time. I know one person who had a non-anaphylactic cat allergy as a child, and when tested as an adult, had changed to a dog sensitivity. For all they know, your cousin may no longer have an allergy to cats. That's assuming he ever did. His parents could have made up the whole thing. Perhaps they don't like cats. Perhaps they just wanted something to give them a reason to tell others what to do. Unless your cousin's allergy was unusually severe, I think your parents offered a reasonable compromise that should have worked. I wonder if any of their classmates had cats, or if your cousins were homeschooled. I, 39 male, have one sister, Kim, female 30. Our parents died 7 years ago, leaving me everything in their will. At the time, Kim had a serious D problem. She had been through rehab 3 times and jail twice at this point. My parents' death was a shock to all of us, and it really seemed to motivate Kim. She asked me to send her to rehab 6 months after they died. I agreed. To my knowledge, she has been clean since. Kim now has 3 kids, 4 male, 3 male, 4 months female, as well as a husband, John, male 31. Kim and her husband are struggling financially. Kim is now demanding that I give her half of the inheritance, roughly $90K, so she wants $45K I received from our parents. I've said no. My sister and some of my extended family are calling me a greedy jerk, which is close to an a-hole. My thinking: Kim cost my parents thousands of dollars in rehab and legal expenses alone. They had to take a second mortgage on the house to pay legal fees. I, on the other hand, was pretty much financially independent at 18. I went to college on a full scholarship and worked part-time to pay for my own expenses. My parents gave me gifts, but never had to pay any of my expenses once I was out of high school. My parents made me the sole beneficiary of their life insurance and the sole heir in their will. They never said a word or left any indication that they expected me to share anything with Kim or look after her in any way. It was their money, and they opted to give it to me. My parents knew I had refused to give Kim any money while they were alive. I spoke to my parents every week. Kim put them through hell. I do have a hard time forgiving her for the number of times she made Mom cry. I did pay about $9,000 to put her through rehab after my parents died, so I have helped her. I did all the work after my parents died, planning the funeral, calling everyone, cleaning out the house and going through their things alone and selling the house. I gave Kim my mom's jewelry, including her wedding and engagement ring. She sold them to buy Dee. Kim's thinking. From what she said, she may have additional reasons. Kim is as much my parents' child as I am. She believes this means she deserves half of their estate. That siblings evenly splitting an inheritance is only fair. Kim is now clean and believes that if she had been clean when my parents died, they would have left her half. Kim has 3 kids, my parents' grandchildren. Kim believes that my parents would want to help their grandchildren. I do not have children and don't plan to have any. She needs the money, but I don't. Kim believes that since I am more financially successful, I don't have the same need of the inheritance that she does. She is correct. The amount of money my parents left didn't change my life at all. I put it in my retirement savings, but it is a small part of it. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give her money now? Not the a-hole. Executors exist for a reason. Your parents trusted you with the money, not her. If you want to be generous, set up trust funds in her kids' names. The fact that you gave her your mom's wedding jewelry and she sold it to buy Dee is proof she is not capable of looking after a large amount of money. Not the a-hole. Get a rough estimate of the jewelry, the cost of rehab and legal fees, and anything else related, and give it to her. My guess is it won't be too far shy, if not over $45,000. She wants money now because she needs it, and as such has revealed exactly how much her parents meant to her. They were there to bail her out of trouble she created. Seems she has not taken responsibility for her actions and their consequences. My dad and our family liked meat a lot, but my aunt, who shall be called EA here, did not. EA was a vegan, a plant lover, see? Any animal-based product was pure tragedy. At no other point did she make herself clear than on Christmas Eve on the 2005 year. My dad always held a large dinner party, our relatives ranging from bitter to hearty. He always loved meat, whether pork, beef, or jerky, and always took pride in his Christmas turkey. At that time, I was still a small boy, admiring my cousin's new Hot Wheel toys. We were watching Rudolph when all of a sudden, I heard a loud scream that you could curdle one's blood in. We rushed to the kitchen, and there was my dad, yelling at EA, furiously mad. Due to fuzzy memory, the quotes aren't exact, but I fully remember the tone and the tact. My dad shouted, "What's this, balderdash? Why did you put my turkey in the trash?" EA quipped, "I threw animal cruelty away. Why must you do this before Christmas Day?" Dad barked, "I made you a salad, you shrew. Just because you're vegan doesn't mean we must be too." EA just yelled, "You should be ashamed. Don't you know how these turkeys were maimed?" Dad said, "I don't give a darn what you eat. You keep your plants, and I'll keep my meat. If you don't like it, get out of my house." EA grabbed her kids, who were quiet as a mouse. Then she whispered in her huffy stroll, "Don't worry, kids. Meat eaters get coal." I started crying because of the yelling, but my grandma soothed me in her voice, so compelling. We ended up ordering pizza that night. Other than the turkey, things turned out all right. EA still came every Christmas since then, but kept her mouth shut about being vegan. I think she especially became less of a brat when animal control took her vegan cat. She didn't stop us from having our Christmas feast. And he himself, her son, carved the roast beast. I think my favorite part is that even after being told that Santa gives coal to meat eaters, the EA son grew up to like meat, assuming so if he's comfortable enough to carve. That's the ultimate sign of defeat for an entitled parent. That and animal control has a way of putting zealous vegans in their place. Loved every second of this, OP. Just as well animal control took her vegan cat. Feeding cats a vegan diet is cruel. They're obligate carnivores. I never understood that part about veganism. They claim to be all about supporting animals, yet seem oblivious to the fact that animals eat other animals. So, a little backstory. I, 16 female, am a straight-A student and have always enjoyed teaching and helping others with schoolwork. When I was about 13, I wanted to make my passion into a paying job and asked my mom if I could tutor kids for money. Long story short, she said I could do it when I was 16. Last year, I turned 16. I started tutoring 2 of my mom's friends' kids. I don't charge much, only $5 per hour per kid. Because I tutored them 2 hours a day, 5 days per week, it worked out to about $100 a week. Not much, but it gave me some extra spending money. I had been tutoring them about 5 weeks when tragedy hit my family. My cousin died. He was middle-aged and had 4 kids, 11 male, 9 male, 7 female, and 1 female. Obviously, it was hard on their mom. However, her mother-in-law, my aunt, had been living with them for a while at that point. She did most of the housework. Before she came to our country, the house would almost always be a pigsty. She cleans and takes care of the kids. Cousin-in-law, cousin's widow, EC, was a housewife. It already reeks of entitlement. She does nothing to help around the house and basically expects my nice aunt, N.A., to be her servant because she gave birth to N.A.'s grandkids. A week after he died, pandemic hit and schools closed. We thought it would be just a little while and paused tutoring for a month. After that, I realized that a quick reopening was not going to happen and started tutoring them via video conference. Here comes the fun part. The conversation happened on the phone between my mom, M, and EC. Greetings and pleasantries. EC. So I was wondering if OP could tutor my kids. Mom. Which of them? She probably can't do all of them. EC. No, don't worry, not all of them. Just the older 3. Mom. She only has 2 students right now, and I'm not sure if she's able to handle 3 more. EC. But we're family. You know their dad just passed, and it's her duty as their aunt to help us in our time of need. Mom. I'm sorry, but your kids can be a bit naughty sometimes. They are much worse than a bit naughty. And I don't think the other kid's mom would appreciate paying $10 an hour for a class shared with 3 other kids. EC. Well, then you can just put my kids at a different time than them. Mom. Wants to say no, but doesn't want to be rude. Okay, I'll talk about it with OP. Just so you know, the tutoring is virtual. How long do you want them to be with her for, and how much are you willing to pay? EC. I don't need much time. Just about 4 hours a day. We're family, and I don't have much money, so I won't be paying anything for it. Also, I'll need her to be with them physically because my kids need extra help. Mom. All right, I'll talk about it with OP. My mother lets me know that she wants me to decline, and I am happy to do so. 4 hours per day of unpaid work with her demon brats, plus risk of virus exposure, is a definite no. My mom tells me to call her and not be too rude. Me. Hi, EC. Mom told me about your request, and I'm afraid I'll have to decline or change the plan a bit. EC. But why? You're their aunt, and their dad just died, and it's your responsibility. Me. I'm sorry, EC, but I'm in high school, and I can't work 6 hours a day, especially since it's unpaid and you want me to be physically there. EC. Well, just remove the other kids, and you'll only have 4 hours of work. And what do you mean it's unpaid? Of course I won't pay you. You're just a high school student, and we're family. And don't worry about being there. Virus is just a hoax created by China and the Democrats. Christ will save the true believers. Me. I can't just remove the other kids, but maybe we could figure something out. 2 hours a day is the max I will work. So maybe I could tutor just one of them. Or we could alternate kids on different days. Also, I can't just do it for free, but I would reduce the price, and keeping it virtual is non-negotiable. I do believe the virus is real and cannot put myself and especially my 70-year-old grandma at risk. EC. Fine. I'll pay you $3 an hour for all 3 kids, 3 hours a day. Me. I can't accept $9 for something I would get $45 for from another person. I understand your situation, but I can't tutor your kids. EC. I'll give you $4 an hour. Pick them up from my house on said day and time. Me. No. I hung up. On the day we agreed to start, she calls me and asks where I am. I tell her that I'm busy. I'm virtually with my students. She says that her kids are waiting for me to pick them up, and I tell her that I never agreed to take her brats. I hang up and silence my phone. A few days later, I am bombarded with calls and texts from relatives saying I'm wrong to agree and then abandon them. I told them what happened, and most are chill now, but some are still upset with me. Do not cave. You owe her nothing. You are not an aunt to those kids. You are second cousins once removed. If they give you any more grief than you say, then I guess you will be volunteering 4 hours a day to go and tutor them, since they need it so badly. If they say, "No, you do it," then you say, "Why would I do something you aren't willing to do yourself?" Even if they don't live close, you can always suggest they tutor them virtually. Anyone who ever wants to volunteer you for something they won't do themselves are not worth your time or respect.